So I've noticed some people having problems documenting a network on our network documentation sheets for in-class projects. So I want to take a few minutes and show you how to take a network diagram and then document the network. And then in a subsequent video, we'll show you how to use that documentation to cable the network. So let's start with the network design here. Now, this is something similar to a network design you may see me do on the uh, boards in the classroom. So we have 3 PCs connected to a couple of switches and a router. So with this layout in mind, let's start filling out our documentation sheet. We're going to start by identifying the PCs that we're going to use. So in this case, we're using PCs 7, 8, and 9, and you'll see I document each one of them here. Next, I'm going to document the network jacks. And so right next to PC 789, we have jacks 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, and 80. Then I'm going to put those same jack numbers down where the patch panel is illustrated for room T208. So I know which jacks out of the patch panel I need to come out of to connect to my switches and my router. Finally, I'm going to identify the devices I'm using in T208, our switch room. So I'm using alpha, beta as my switches, and my router is going to be Phobos. So to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and label the devices on my network diagram here. So I'm going to identify PC 7, 8, and 9, and then I'm going to identify my switches alpha, beta, and my router Phobos. Now, sometimes it's important to label what ports your PCs are connecting to your switches on. Sometimes it's important to label how your switches are connecting to each other and how your switches are connecting to the router. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of more things. I'm going to add some port identifiers for how my switches are going to connect to my router. We're going to connect G01 on alpha to G00 on Phobos, and we're going to connect G01 on Phobos to G01 on beta. Now looking at this diagram, I have a pretty good idea of how my network is going to fit together. So let me go back to my other sheet, my network documentation sheet, and finish it out so I can use it to correctly cable this network. So I'm going to start by showing how I'm going to diagram the PCs connecting to the wall jacks. And I'm going to do these in different colors for clarity. So we're going to take a line from PC7 here, the Ethernet jack, to port 75, and then from PC8 to port 76, and then from PC9 to port 77. And so this illustrates the cables that are going to run in T207. Now, if you remember from our network diagram, PC7 and PC8 are connected to alpha. So PC7 comes out on jack 75. So I'm going to draw a line from patch panel jack 75 to the alpha switch. And then PC8 also goes to the alpha switch. So I'm going to draw a line from patch panel jack 76 to the alpha switch. PC 9 is going to go to the beta switch. So I'm going to draw a line from the beta switch to port 77, which is what PC9 is connected to. Finally, we'll do our switch to router connections. So we're going to draw a connection from G01 on alpha to G00 on Phobos, and then another one from G01 on beta to G01 on Phobos. So this diagram now illustrates all of our cabling connections in T207 and T208. You may have noticed that we didn't address serial connections for console connection. You do diagram that the exact same way, except that instead of coming out of the Ethernet jack to the wall jack, you'd come out of the serial port to the wall jack. And then you'd pick up the appropriate connection off of the patch panel and go to the console port on whatever device you're trying to configure. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how you can take a network diagram and translate it to network documentation. Now, in our next video, we're going to talk about how to take that network documentation and actually cable a network using that documentation as your foundation.